there's nothing in the NFL, in my opinion, that compares to a game like this. The meaning, the conference, everything about it, the pageantry around it. Number 2 Georgia, number 4 Alabama, 100-something thousand people in Tuscaloosa. Absolutely love it. Mike, I'm going to start with you. What is your pick on this game?
I'm going to be on the Bama side here. I played it at 2.5. You can still find a 2.5 out there. Still like it at 1.5. When I look at this particular matchup here, I get why there's interest on both sides, right? You're going to hear this all week, no matter where you're looking. How often do you get Bama as a home underdog? Sure. How often do you get Georgia under a field goal? Sure. Both extremely valid points, right? These two programs are incredible. I will push back a bit when you said Nick Saban is gone. Mr. Nick Saban is absolutely not gone. He is still an advisor to this team with an office in the building. And I guarantee you he's had multiple meetings this week ahead of this matchup. He still is very, very invested in the outcome of Alabama football games at this point. It's a little difficult because he has a lot of media obligations to not act that way, but he is still heavily invested in the outcome of Alabama football. As far as this game, though, I'm not a big Carson Beck guy, and I don't think Georgia can run the football like they have in years past. I am not a big ETN fan, and I really think the depth behind them is what they're lacking. And it's not just that, though. It would be enough to get by if they had that elite run game that they've had over the last 10, 15 years. I just don't think they have it. And when you combine that with the loss of Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey, I worry about this team if they're not playing from in front. If they fall down 10 points to Bama and become extremely one-dimensional, I think that's where it gets ugly. And I also think that we're going to see a special performance from Jalen Milroe. I think the home field advantage is significant. I mean, obviously, you look at this matchup here, it's going to be the biggest football game of the year in college football outside of the national title itself. So for me, I'm back in Bama here. I think they should be a 2-point favorite, and them as a 2-point favorite, when you account for home field advantage, that actually says that Georgia is still the better football team on a neutral field. And I think that's a fair assessment of this particular matchup. So give me Bama with the points.
Emory, are you with him?
Yes. And I'm taking Bama on the money line. I just listen, Mike laid out a bunch of great points, because if you really boil it down to what we saw last between these two teams, Milroe superseded expectations and just outplayed Georgia. And when you also factor in coming to this ball game, Alabama has the better backs. Their duo is fantastic. They have game breakers in the backfield combined with the running talents of Jalen Milroe. And Georgia is banged up defensively a little bit coming into this ball game. And when you factor all of those points in, and they'll be able to get after Carson Beck, Bama has the better receivers in this matchup. I feel like Bama is the better team pound for pound coming into this ball game, and they'll show that out on the field. I also feel like Bama can win by double digits.
You know what's crazy to me, though, Emory? The last team to score a touchdown against Georgia was Alabama. They haven't given up an offensive touchdown to their opponents in 4 games, which is wild. Chip, all right, we're not going to talk about defense here. Let's talk about offense. Where do you stand?
First of all, I think full game over is live. I think we're going to see some haymakers back and forth. I hinted at this earlier, but Alabama's defense, in particular their pass defense, can be had. There have been wide open wide receivers. They've got youth. They've got inexperience. And with extra time to prepare for this, if Georgia's passing attack cannot take advantage of that, well, then Georgia's not even the second best team in the SEC. Then Georgia is like way further back than we thought. So I think that there is going to be a lot of opportunities here for the Bulldogs to be able to hit enough splash plays to be able to score. But you mentioned, we've got Mykel Williams dealing with an ankle injury. Warren Brinson, I think, has been back at practice this week. The loss of Tate Ratledge is significant and something that we're looking at certainly for Georgia's offensive line. But all of this has me thinking that Jalen Milroe's going to be running for his life, but being able to make great plays. Love a Jalen Milroe rushing yards over if you've got player props in your state or a similar opportunity. And I kind of think that as these two teams exchange haymakers, we start to get close to the 30s. So with the Georgia passing attack against an Alabama pass defense that is vulnerable, my best bet is Georgia team total over. But I like full game over as well if you want to play that.
Man, I am opposite all three of you, and that is not a good sign for me. I love Georgia at -1.5, but that's I'm picking Georgia 24, Alabama 16. And sorry, Chip, a half a point off there. Let me explain why. Georgia, 9 straight regular season wins off a bye. 6 straight road wins or 6 straight wins against AP top 5 opponents. The last 2 by 58 and 60. I don't know if that really matters much in this particular case. 16 straight road wins. And I trust Kirby Smart's defense a lot more. And I don't know if this is fair than Kalen DeBoer's offense. That's why I say
I just
really. They haven't given up a touchdown in 4 games.
Kalen DeBoer is better offensive coaching than Alabama has had since Lane Kiffin left.
I still trust that Georgia defense, and I think they step up big time. So I'm picking Georgia 24, Alabama 16. Listen, and maybe I'm off here, and it is a high-scoring game, but I love Georgia either way. I love the Bulldogs. We'll see if I'm right. Revenge angle. As I mentioned, Alabama's won 8 of the last 9, not on Saturday. All right, we've gone through the top games, but it's now time to see our week 4 or week 5. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you have the hurricane? Are you doing the hurricane tracking right now?
I am not. No.
No, I thought that's what Mike's about to come in with, because Helene, I've heard varying. There's 2 different beliefs on whether or not this storm is going to impact this game, and if so, how much. And so I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Mike.
Mike, go ahead. What is there something on that we can play or an angle?
He might have something else.
Go ahead if you've got it, Chip. That's it's all good. I want to hear more about the hurricane. It is a factor. I think it's going to be a factor, but it's still too early, unfortunately, to really know. So I'm not going to speculate too much.
Oh, I'm going to speculate.
Other than to say that it's,
hell yeah, I'm going to speculate. See, I think the fear it has people running to buy the milk and eggs and has this total being driven down. I think that if you get the all clear, we'll see the total start to go back up to somewhere in the mid 50s.